I'm not saying that governments discuss these things with those affected as often as they should, but the justification for this, that a voice is needed because Indigenous Australians aren't consulted, is absolute piffle. There is a Council of Peaks, P-E-A-K-S, which represents 70 top Aboriginal organisations and claims to be in a formal partnership with Australian governments. Aboriginal people don't have a voice? Well, have the last two ministers for Indigenous Affairs, Ken Wyatt and today Linda Burney, lost their voices because both are Indigenous Australians? And if there are 11 federal MPs identifying as Aboriginal in the National Parliament, is that voice not enough? Are there 11 people representing the aged care community? Are there 11 representing the disabled? Are there 11 representing our Muslim or Lebanese or Italian communities? What the hell are we on about here? Warren Mundine is widely regarded, highly esteemed, as a significant Australian Indigenous leader. He wrote today something quite simple about this campaign to enshrine a First Nations voice in the Constitution, when he said, quote, "The campaign is championed by Australia's elites, including corporate Australia, media figures and Aboriginal academics. When I speak," he said, "to Aboriginal people day to day, I don't find support, but rather indifference, confusion as to what it's about, or outright opposition," unquote. Warren Mundine rightly says, quote, "My first reaction was, why amend the Constitution at all? The Commonwealth Government already has power to create Aboriginal representative bodies and has before, including the National Aboriginal Consultative Committee, ATSIC, and the National Congress of Australia's First Peoples. It could legislate," he said, "tomorrow to create a voice. No referendum." Well, as Warren Mundine argues, and we have to keep saying it, the previous bodies all made representations to Parliament, as do many other Aboriginal bodies and individuals all the time, unquote. Look, I'm sorry to put this bluntly, but this is ideological humbug. Warren Mundine makes a further point which is very powerful and unacknowledged by these ideological zealots when he says, and I quote, "There isn't one Aboriginal group, but hundreds, each with their own country, language, kinship system and culture." He wrote, "A year after the Uluru Statement of the Heart, I was in Mutijulu, a small community at the base of Uluru, and a local elder took me aside to tell me that the Uluru Statement of the Heart was not their culture and does not speak for them. Do the views of Jacinta Price and Warren Mundine not count? As Warren Mundine has said simply, a national body can't speak for Aboriginal people as a group, and Aboriginal people won't recognise it," unquote. Well, that's why, amongst many other reasons, if we're going to be asked in a referendum without any detail, quote, "Do you support an alteration to the Constitution that establishes an Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander voice," unquote, "in the interests of Indigenous Australians, I will vote no